We got a great program for you today. I'm fresh back from a trip celebrating some great football history, the 100th anniversary of the Pottsville Maroons 1925 championship team. We're here to tell you more about it right after this.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darin Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darin Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And you may see the background is a little bit different if you're watching on our YouTube channel. It's one of the special things. It's about the book that we have that came out recently, Maroon, The Rise, the Fall, and the Redemption of the Pottsville Maroon of the NFL. It's here in 2025. It is the 100th anniversary, and I am fresh back from Pottsville this weekend to help that city celebrate that great team from 1925 on the 100th anniversary of it. And co-author Jeffrey Payne and myself joined other authors and the whole town, along with some former NFL stars, to help celebrate that great anniversary. And boy, what a community spirited event it was. The mayor of Pottsville, at this banquet that was held at night, declared August 16th, 2025 to be Pottsville Maroons Day. And boy, what a great event that we had in store there. Now, Jeff and I are both members of an organization, of two organizations, the Vintage Football Community and the PFRA, the Professional Football Researchers Association. Now, Jeff is the founder of the VFC, and we're both the members of that and the PFRA. And Jeff, and along with Steve Wolf and his wife Sue, organized a tour that VFC and PFRA members from all over the country were invited to come and take a part in. And I think they had a membership between those two organizations of probably about 5 or 6 different states and a district, including District of Columbia, were well represented to go on a little tour and a little adventure all day long. Now, I wasn't able to join them for the earlier and the later events. I was traveling that day to get down there. I had about a 5-hour drive from Erie down to Pottsville, and I had some family things to take care of in the morning. But I got to join them at lunchtime. But in the morning, the tour went on quite an adventure. First, they went to the Schuylkill County Historical Society, where they have some great artifacts of many different things from the county, but including some exhibits that are from the Pottsville Maroons. Now, I'm showing a video right now of you're seeing some image of the bronze shoe of Charlie Berry, who was the great kicker. And if you take a look at our book that we have here, we talk quite a bit about that shoe in it and tell you a little bit the backstory on it. But that basically, this is a special kicking shoe that Joe Zacco provided for Charlie Berry. He wore it in some important games, including the kick to kick the field goal against the Notre Dame All-Stars to win that game, in essence, make them the world champions of American football. So that was a tremendous thing to see. Also, there's a ring there that Pottsville was given on one of their banquets, I believe. And some many other articles. They have some clothing and a lot of programs from the Maroons. Which how about that? These things are some of them 100 years old or darn near 100 years old in other cases. Some program covers. So it's amazing that these paper objects are still around to be enjoyed. So they got to tour that. Then they toured the Yuengling factory. Yeah, Pottsville is the home of Yuengling Brewery, the country's oldest acting brewery of beer. And they got to do a few samples. I missed that part. I did not miss out on a Yuengling, though. I had a few of those while I was down there. Don't worry about that. But I got to meet them at a restaurant at lunchtime. And it was in a sort of a strip plaza, and we're sitting there, and we had lunch, and I got to meet some of the guys, that were on there. Some of them I knew, some of them was the first time I had ever met. I think there was ended up being like 15 of us all together for the high point of the day, and it seemed to be the lunch. And we went outside and we were going to disperse to the next site, which would be the site of Minersville Field, the home of the 1925 Pottsville Maroons, their home playing field. And so I was excited to see where this would be. Well, it was right where the restaurant and the strip mall were. That was the site of the mall or of the field of Minersville Field, and they have a small placard or little sign out in front there, which you can see uh, here in these images, and just a tremendous thing to mark that field. And it was kind of neat. It was by a creek, so there was the newspaper accounts and early accounts from writers or people that were there. They talked about this creek and they talked about a hillside, which was right behind it, and how people would climb up in the trees and watch. And but you could just look in and you could envision this looking over the top of, from our perspective out by the road, by the sign that we were telling you about, to see the trees and imagining people looking over the fence to get the free view of the football game. And the creek would flood and everything like that. So some good markers that you can't move hills and creeks very easily, especially the hillsides. And so it's very good landmarks to tell you that that field was there. Well, next we went to the Yorkville Hose Company, and this is famous for the 1920 and 1919 seasons of Pottsville football, right before they became the Maroons, just a few years before they would be the Maroons, but sort of the building blocks of these early Pottsville players entering into professional football and semi-pro football. And they had a team picture right in front of the doors of this building, and just a tremendous building, architectural wonder it is. Well, I had to depart at that point, but the tour went on. They went out and they looked at the Coaldale field. One of the Coaldale was one of the rivals in the Anthracite League with Pottsville. And then the group headed to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, where the famous Jim Thorpe is interred out there. So that was a tremendous thing. While they were doing those last two stops, Jeff and I had to beeline it back to the Mountain View Golf Course where the banquet was going to be taking place. And we were honored guests there and were recognized. And like I told you, there's two other books out, before ours, Breaker Boys by David Fleming, and also we had Vincent Genovese's The Pottsville Maroons and the NFL Stolen Championship of 1925. Well, I got to meet Vincent. We had quite a long conversation. Hopefully, we'll have him on as a guest very soon to talk about his book and some other things that he's doing as far as football. Very nice gentleman. And also at this banquet were family members of the Pottsville Maroons. Now, there was Jack Ernst's family was represented. Coach Dick Roush's family was representing there. Some of these great grandsons and grandsons were there. The Russ Hathaway, we got to meet his grandson, and some of these folks they remember their grandfathers were doing that. But the big booster of and I'm probably missing some there. There was a lot of family members there, and but there's two tables worth of Joe Zacco's family. And if you've read the book, Joe Zacco was the sporting stores and super fan booster of the Pottsville Maroons. He was the official outfitter of the Pottsville Maroons. He ended up giving them jerseys, maroon in color. Doc Striegel didn't care what color they were, but they were maroon is what he ended up getting them. That's how they became the Maroons. And he sort of led the fight after 1925, all the way till the end of his life in the 1960s. And then his family members, especially his son, picked up the flag and the banner and kept going on, having reunions and soliciting the NFL to give them the championship. And it hasn't worked out yet, but still pushing. And the community is really still behind that, and that's a great thing. A couple movies are going to be coming out on the Pottsville Maroons real soon here, and there was a lot of media coverage on that, including the Republican magazine of the area, Pottsville Republican, which still covers a lot of the events there. And I'm seeing things, events you can find them even on like Yahoo.com for this great event, this banquet. but a lot of guests, a lot of talking, and you know, we had a few former professional athletes, including three NFL players that were there. First off was Marcus Washington, and Marcus Washington, I ended up we stayed at the same hotel as these gentlemen. I got to eat breakfast with them and visit with them after having a meal the night before. But Marcus Washington, or I'm sorry, Marvin Washington. Excuse me, Marvin, I called you Marcus, but Marvin Washington he is a huge human being, 6'6", 285 pounds in his playing days. He stopped playing in 1999. I think the guy could still suit up today. Giant of a man, nicest guy in the world, and big paws on him. You shake hands with him, your hand gets lost in her. But he wore 97 for the New York Jets from 1989 through the 1996 season. Had a stint with the 49ers late 90s, and then the Denver Broncos. He closed out his career there in 1998, and won a Super Bowl championship as a has a Super Bowl ring with him from those play days there with the Broncos, I believe. And also with him were John Booty. And John Booty, you may remember that name, not John David Booty, but John Fitzgerald Booty, a contemporary, more contemporary player. He played from 1988 all the way through 1995. Had also played with the Jets, played with the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Giants, and a stint with the Buccaneers as a defensive back. And I meant to tell you that Marvin Washington had 40 and a half sacks during his career. John Booty, on the other hand, had 14 interceptions in 102 games. So two good players to be there helping the Maroons celebrate their thing. Well, another one, a name you're going to recognize, is Mark Kelso, who was a defensive back, most famously for the Buffalo Bills in their 1990s and playing in 4 Super Bowls with the Bills. And it was a very important part to their uh, actions and being in there along with a great offense of the Machine Gun Kelly offense, no huddle. But Kelso was part of that vaunted defense along with Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett and others that really played their way too to some play in 4 Super Bowls. So just some tremendous players. He and Mark Kelso had 30 interceptions during his career, so he was no slouch either. So that was the Pottsville celebration that we had, and what a great time! And really, the community is still behind that team 100 years later, and I think that's just amazing. If you haven't got a copy of our book Marooned, take a look for it at your favorite bookstores, including Amazon. Marooned, The Rise and Fall, and the Redemption of the Pottsville Maroons. That's the cover right here. Take a look for that, and you got it. Or you can search under my name on Amazon, and you'll find that right away too. Also have another book that I was a part of. Chris Willis graciously let me help him with a book on Red Grange and the Chicago Bears 100th anniversary scrapbook. Take a look for that on Amazon. Just came out last week, and I think you'll find that one a delight too. We'll be talking more about that one here in future episodes. But I also want to tell you, Mondays we've been trying to go through some of these origin stories of nicknames of college football teams. Well, today I want to dive a little bit into the Florida Gators. Now, this one might sound a little bit obvious, Florida and the swamps and the Gators, and to some extent it is, but it's kind of an interesting little tale that the name was formally adopted by the University of Florida in 1911, and this is after an appearance in a newspaper of one of the writers calling them the Gators. Now, the newspaper writer was inspired because folks were having pennants and putting pictures of alligators on them and poster boards and things like that. And the community was sort of adhering to that spirit and to that image of an alligator. Alligators are pretty tough and pretty feisty, and you don't really want to mess with them. That's what they wanted their football team to embody. What a great name, and very unique to them. The Florida Gators came to be, and we know how good they have been over the last few decades. I had some championship teams, the Tebow teams, and some great players have come out of that program as well. So just want to celebrate them a little bit. And so we talk about football history here in our special Pottsville Maroons edition, celebrating the 100th anniversary. Make sure you take a look at our book. And if you have any questions, you can email me at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you more about Pottsville and more football history. Till next time, everybody, have a great Gridiron Day.
That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.